Another Thursday comes upon us, and that means that it is time for another AEW Dynamite review right here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes or on your favorite podcast application wherever you listen to the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, a pro wrestling podcast, which is officially what it's referred to as now. I'm Mr. Warren Hayes. How are you all doing? We are in instant reaction mode tonight. We are in post-show mode. I am recording this after the show on the Wednesday, as opposed to what I usually do and record this on the Thursday. So a little more gut feeling. I will not have the clarity that I usually have after sleeping on a Dynamite and coming back. But nonetheless, because in all transparency, I have a nice day ahead of me tomorrow. I have an opportunity to go do stuff with family, and I'm going to take it. So I was figuring might as well just get the Dynamite stuff out of the way. It'll publish automatically thanks to the wonders of modern technology. Everyone who's just chomping at the bit, making sure that they don't want to miss a single moment of my Dynamite thoughts. Well, everyone will be able to have them, and the world will keep on turning. For God forbid, I would stop the world from turning. That would be awful. But thank you all for being here. I appreciate it a great deal. Let's just get right to it. There's not much meta to talk about this week. Apparently, the Elite are all on vacation, so they were not at this Dynamite that occurred on July 27, 2023, from Albany, New York, at the MVP Arena. 2,797 tickets distributed for a 3,516 setup, according to WrestleTix, just as I am starting to record this. So there might be some difference tomorrow, but as it stands, we're lower than the average. This is a lower average attendance number for an AEW show, particularly for a Dynamite show. So nothing to write home about on that one. But I don't think you'd consider this a good house. I don't think it is. But I'll tell you what, this first match, that was good stuff. International title match. Orange Cassidy defeated AR Fox. Before the match, we got Darby Allin in a pre-tape putting over AR Fox. We're seeing footage of AR Fox training and coaching. And the match itself was an absolute blast where, AR Fox is in here. He's playing the hits. He's doing the springboard, post, moonsault, the twisting brainbuster. And we have this great sequence. This is the kind of stuff where you're like, man, this guy. Great sequence where Fox avoids a slingshot senton. He immediately hits one of his own. Orange Cassidy goes to the floor. AR Fox is immediately on top of him with a tope con hilo, and then goes right into a swanton bomb. And just everything was so smooth. Just fantastic stuff. Smooth, great pace. A bit of a cardio workout. Just great stuff. Formidable athlete this guy is. And Orange Cassidy's doing his best to put him away. DDTs, the beach break, nothing's working. So the mousetrap, that gets the job done though. So Orange Cassidy retains in a really bombastic opener. Like, that was spectacular. This, again, the kind of thing that you expect out of AEW Dynamite. After the match, Orange Cassidy pulls out a spare pair of aviators and puts them on AR Fox. They do a little pause, but as Orange Cassidy's back is turned to him, to AR Fox takes them off and he crushes them in his hand. And then he punches right in the mush our boy Orange Cassidy. He rolls out of the ring. He seems conflicted. Darby Allin comes out to confront him. He's like, hey, I just gave you an opportunity. The hell are you doing? And he seems conflicted. He's like, oh, what did I do? What did I do? Well, we'd know soon enough. That was a good setup for the angle. That was a fantastic setup for the angle. Backstage, Renee Paquette is with Chris Jericho and Don Callis. Don is still, trying to get Jericho to join the Don Callis family. What is the Don? Like, can you call it a family if there's just one person? I guess you can. Just doesn't feel, it feels a little underwhelming. But he sets up a match next week with Chris Jericho teaming with Konosuke Takeshita to take on Sammy Guevara and Daniel Garcia. Jericho's a little unsure upon hearing this information, but Don schmoozes him into accepting, and because he's a finesser, just a grade A, #1 class finesser. And Don has another ridiculous painting, not unlike the one with him and Kenny Omega. He had another one done by Mel Coleman, of all, clearly, where we see Bad News Allin up in the heavens, looking down, peeking through the clouds, looking down, smiling at Chris Jericho and Don Callis, their hair flowing, their bodies ripped, just ridiculous stuff. I love it. Chris Jericho says, I can't carry this around. This is not going to go. And Callis is like, hey, don't worry about it. I got a place for this. Or should we just knock it out of the way? We'll just do this. We'll finish off this angle for the evening, because later on, then we'll move on. But later on in the evening, Renee Paquette, is, she's in a hallway. She wants to talk with the Jericho Appreciation Society. They're very upset with the antics of their leader. So they go into they go into Chris Jericho's locker room, and then they see the Don Callis painting there on the wall, and they're like, "What the hell is this?" And Chris, oh well, look, it's just a painting that Don, gave me and set up here. Don't worry about it, kind of thing. But everyone is kind of worried, and Tay Conti is there as well, and she very pregnant, looking radiant, she's she's like, well, what's going on, Chris? Angelo Parker, same thing. Anna Jay steps up too, says, we spend a lot of time appreciating you, but we don't feel appreciated. They all walk out. So does Matt Menard, who tells Chris Jericho to figure it out. Mutiny. So there you go. Let's get back to the chronological sequence here. We get a vignette from Hook, who somehow still had the FTW title long enough to shoot this vignette, and because then he's sitting on a train and the train passes and the title disappears, and then the other train passes and he disappears. So I guess the rumors are true. He's taking a train to Stamford. Old Taz wanted his boy to work for WWE, right? That was wasn't that the thing that was going around? Wasn't that the rumor? Oh God, pro wrestling rumors. What are you gonna do? Then we get the Blackpool Combat Club there backstage. They're giving us a public service announcement. Don't play with fire and don't mess with the BCC. And, Jon Moxley is there as well with Claudio and Wheeler Yuta. And they're all referencing, all the people who came after them at Death Before Dishonor. And I dig this. I like this. It's continuity. Jon basically says, they all look out for each other and he'll protect his boys even if he's not in the building. So immediately they're giving us a reason as to why, a clear reason as to why Jon Moxley came after Orange Cassidy. Because when that happened, I was like, oh, I get it. Orange Cassidy, after the Claudio Pac match came down, there was a big schmoz and he Superman punched Claudio. So, of course, Jon is going to take exception to that. I thought that was pretty cool. Again, just a very little simple thing, but we're clearly setting up something bigger. So I'm okay with that. And we'll talk about this in a bit. Tony Schiavone welcomes Jack Perry to the ring. And Jack Perry is wearing a t-shirt that says, I beat Hook. He is dressed in black and white and orange, which are the colors of one Taz. I hope he asked Taz for permission. He says when he was going to win his first singles gold, he didn't expect it to be this thing, a title created in a second-class company by some scumbags. I mean, I could not but not laugh. And then he tells Taz that he could have beaten any of his dirtbag friends any day of the week. And I thought that was funny. Let's go through the entire segment. This draws out Jerry Lynn, of all people, who comes out and he says, you know, what they did in ECW paved the way for you youngsters today, right? So of course, the company, any wrestling promotion in the world will always go back to ECW. That's inevitable. That will always happen. We will always go back to ECW, especially when it's time to babyface someone or heel someone. The sacred cow, right? Jerry Lynn wants to beat up on him right now. Jack says, I'm not ready to fight. And I'm like, bro, you're in shorts, a cutoff t-shirt, and sneakers. You're absolutely ready to fight. I thought this was great. He says, obviously I'm not in gear. I'm not ready to fight. I'm like, wow. And they set up a match for next week. So, okay. I don't know if I want to see Jerry Lynn in 2023 wrestle. There's probably going to be a lot of angling, a lot of smoke and the mirrors. I would assume, because if anyone's expecting Jerry Lynn starting to fly around the ring, you got another thing coming. But you know what? I thought Jungle Boy did a fantastic job here, healing it up. Like, I feel he already feels like there's a direction here, being having a title, being a shit heel champion. I think he's got a couple of he's leaning into it, and the crowd were ready to eat him alive. Well, that was fantastic. You can't ask for anything better than that. It's working. Now, is he perfect in the role yet? No, not yet. I think there's still some work to be done. I think our boy Jack Perry is, he's still got, some finesse to bring to his role. Because I think it's little details, right? It's tiny little details. I don't think he's got the rhythm down as to when to stop talking as a heel to turn around at the crowd. Or I feel he turns around at the crowd too quickly before they're actually reacting in a way that would warrant him to stop. And that's obviously going to come, he's going to grow into it. This is all new to him. I don't think he's never been a heel, throughout the duration of his career. So, little details like that, I'm okay to cut him some slack. I just think overall he's leaning into it a lot faster than I thought he would, and I'm really enjoying his heel work so far. I think he's maybe not the most convincing promo in the world, but his promos are working, and what he's doing is working. I mean, that's good stuff. What more do you want? You want your heels to be able to get that kind of heat. It worked. Renee Paquette interviews Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, backstage. Says basically she was surprised that Taya Valkyrie called her out last Saturday on Collision, and a lot of us were as well. Yeah, and she basically guarantees that she's going to win. We'll get to that. Trust me. Pac is up next. He defeats Gravity. I don't know. This wasn't special. It didn't feel special, and it didn't come across as anything. This was a big nothing burger of a match. This was essentially a very basic enhancement match for Pac. He did do the Gravity bit at first. Did you notice? You know, when he was going, don't you recognize it? And then he parts his hair to the side and he's going, don't you remember me? And Gravity's going, who you're talking about? See, the man that Gravity forgot, you know, the joke that I've been doing. Yeah. And when I say I mean all of us. You know, so he's actually doing the bit in the ring where he's like, you don't remember me, you know, how dare you not remember me? And then he attacks him. And Gravity does this one cool spot where he does like a timber off the apron to the floor on a big press. That can't feel good for anyone. And he does the low gravity walk stuff like he came out in his astronaut suit. And, you know, that makes me chuckle, but I don't know. I think unimpressed is the word. I thought he had a fine match with a fun little match with Commander at Death Before Dishonor, but you know, I'm not seeing the special qualities of Bandito's kid brother here. Avalanche Brainbuster by Pac, which blows me away every time, and a Brutalizer put Gravity away. So outside of the bit, you know, I don't think there's much to talk about in this match. It was something that happened. Now we get to footage of Renee Paquette backstage. Footage from last week, I should say, from last Wednesday. She's with Adam Cole and MJF after their win, and MJF goes right into a hard promo on FTR. There's no buddy. There's no there's no chuckles. There's no high fives and bro fists or whatever. No. He decides to slice into FTR. He makes fun of Cash's mullet, and then he impersonates Dax Harwood cutting a promo. You know, so as to say that he always says the same thing in his promos, and he ain't exactly wrong. Let's put it that way. But it was particularly funny. Adam Cole wants to clear the air, though, because there was this whole controversy surrounding the fact that Adam Cole was not, he was holding the world title and was sort of staring at it longingly, and MJF tore it out of his hands, like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? And, but Cole, says, I want to clear the air. You don't have to worry about me and your title. I'm your friend. We're best friends. You're one of my best friends. Like, he lays it on thick. And he says, I wasn't expecting this level of friendship, and it wasn't my intent to make you feel uncomfortable or worried with what I'm doing right here. MJF says, look, we're such good friends. I'm going to give you a title shot because I know how much this means to you. Now, this is something that I was not expecting. I don't think anyone was really expecting, and it is an interesting wrinkle in this whole story. Where you're like, oh, okay, so they could stay friends, or the fact, as they get closer to the defense date, whatever it is, all in, all out, who knows? As we get closer to that date, their friendship might fall apart. And I think this is a perfectly serviceable angle. I think this is you can already feel a conclusion to this, a wrap up. And that's what you should do with your angles eventually. The standard that now suddenly that everything has to be drawn out for 3 years and so on and so forth. At some point, we really don't need that. And we can move on more expeditiously from angles, from one story to another, from one angle to another, without having to resort to waiting year upon year upon year for something to happen. We talked about this not that long ago, but with the success of the Bloodline, this is something that pro wrestling companies are going to look to emulate because it has been successful, and WWE will try to reproduce that winning formula with, whether the Judgment Day stuff right now, which seems pretty clear to me. That's kind of where they want to get going. That's where they want to head down with that as well. So we cannot be surprised that this type of stuff is going to seep in more, and it doesn't have to be emulated, and angles don't have to last for months upon months upon months, and then even into years. And you can bring them back too. This is something that, a company like AEW is very good with, is that it will always remember significant events and will tie them into things happening later on in the future. And that's a good thing. And because it lets things breathe and it lets you miss things. I also firmly believe that, just to reiterate one more time, as I said last week, this fire is burning so bright right now with MJF and Cole that it runs the risk of extinguishing itself just as quickly as it took off. And I feel that working into a breakup, a split up of their friendship will create heat, will create interest for a match, and then we'll be able to move on. And whatever happens here is not lost. That's the thing. So we can always revisit this friendship thing in whichever way, shape, or form. It's a story that will never ultimately be over. And there's a rule in show business, always says, leave them being the audience, leave them wanting more. So don't give them everything, give them enough. Leave them wanting more. And I think that's important. That being said, this vignette, this pre-recorded stuff that they did this week, umpteen times more successful than any bro time that they were doing, whatever the hell they called it, bro sessions, whatever. This was umpteen times more successful. I think this was perfect, actually. They just come in, they set themselves up, they do the thing, and the dynamics are there. Everything's working, everything's great. Because I was kind of worried after last week. I was like, man, are we going to have to, what are they going to do now? They're going to go, play at the arcade? Is that what they're going to do? They're going to go, I don't know, to Six Flags, whatever. What's the next thing? And I was kind of not looking forward to their next pre-tape bro session. We didn't get it. That's a good thing, because this is just as effective. And then on top of that, Roderick Strong bursts in, and he's mad, and he's yelling at everyone, and Adam Cole has to take him aside and says, look, I love you like a brother, but you're being really crazy and possessive, and you're kind of pushing me away. And then Cole walks away, and Strong grabs his arm, and Cole shrugs him off, and he says, boundaries! Boundaries! I mean, they are leaning really, really hard into the bromance thing, and this is turning into a love triangle. I can't look. I think this is effective. I think it's working because the guys who are involved in this are super charismatic and talented. Roderick Strong being the wild card in this is wild because we don't know how this is going to factor into all of it. Much more effective than doing their skits. And then when we come back from commercial, we have in the same setup, Renee Paquette, footage from last week, but this time it's FTR. They talk about how Cole is okay, but MJF is a snake. And Dax Harwood cuts a promo, the same kind of promo that MJF was mocking him for doing week after week. And he goes and he does it right down to the little finger things and talking about his wife and his children. And I got to feed my family. And I'm like, that was the most hilarious, unintentional comedy spot I have seen in a while. You could not have scripted that better. That was outstanding. I mean, Dax got on that one. It's just as simple as that. And you know what? If this was all planned, good for them. When we come back from, we're back from commercial already. Next match we got was Swerve Strickland versus defeating Darby Allin. And look, this was phenomenal. This was a tremendous match. that, look, if you want to add this to your favorite, to your top Dynamite matches of the year, I absolutely see this. Like, this was an outstanding television match. Because these boys are landing moves and doing spots, and everything they're doing has impact. You know, it has force. Everything feels hard and painful. And Swerve, he throws a sidekick jumping off of the stairs on the floor, and he lands it right on the button, like right on Darby's chin. Just beautiful stuff. And in the ring, he hits a flatliner and a suplex. He's so smooth. He is so smooth. Darby Allin spears him off the apron. He goes for a dive. and Swerve just jumping knees him out of the air. Just a fantastic spot. And then, of course, with all this insane shit going on, Swerve Strickland does a Death Valley driver off the second turnbuckle on the apron, and everyone falls to the floor. Just an absolutely bananas spot. AR Fox, you know, he comes in with a hood, but he's got his fanny pack. We're like, come on, this is AR Fox. What are we doing here? Foxy, what are you doing? You coming in with the hoodie and you think we don't know, you know, the rest of your gear is on? We're not, you know, we're wrestling fans, but we're not that stupid. AR Fox interferes, and that allows Swerve to hit the JML driver for the win. Nick Wayne was out with Darby Allin, forgot to mention, because after the match, AR Fox and Swerve beat up Darby and Nick Wayne, and AR Fox is officially the newest member of the Mogul Embassy. Swerve and AR Fox back together again. The spirit of Lucha Underground lives on. But this match, absolutely phenomenal. This is one, look, if you haven't seen it, go out of your way to watch it. It's a good time. Then we get the Renee Paquette, the Jericho Appreciation Society stuff. We already talked about that, which then would lead us to Dr. Britt Baker defeating Taya Valkyrie. Look, we're going to call this, honestly, frankly, Taya stunk. And I had apprehensions when she did the challenge on Saturday. I thought she had one of her better matches in AEW with Sky Blue. I thought her promo after was Junior League. It's like if MrWarrenHayes had cut a promo. But here, she couldn't run the ropes, and she completely blew a big spot. And she blew it so hard that she froze. She sat there and didn't know what to do for a couple of very long seconds before she decided to go and forearm her opponent in a transitional, let's get our shit back together spot. You know, I was ready to see what Taya was going to do, and she is just not there, and she is not what this division needs. Not while in the meantime, you have Athena and Willow Nightingale in Ring of Honor who are tearing the house down, putting on pristine matches. And we're content with having Taya Valkyrie on TV? No, this is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. Thankfully, Britt gets the win with the lockjaw. Taya immediately taps. Now, I don't know, it's because if Taya just wanted this to end, or if this was, to protect the finisher, but fine, protect the finisher. Make the lockjaw look harder than it is. That's fine. No, this was bad. And there, we can't sugarcoat this. Taya was a detriment in this match. She drew boos from the crowd. What are we doing? And, it's still a bit of a mystery. I don't know what this is about. Britt comes off as a star. What do you want from me? Britt cuts a promo earlier. She does her promo about, I'm surprised that you wanted to challenge me. And she just oozes star power. She's there saying, hey, you remember me? I'm the face of the women's division. I'm like, yes, we know. We know you are the star. For a while, you were one of the top people in that company. Like, Signs WarrenHayes is about to have a stroke. No. I really want to say too many things at once. And I know that Tony Khan is very much online. He goes through everything. He reads everything. He's very much on X. But yeah, look, he's very much online. So he sees, all the weirdos complaining that, Britt Baker always wins. Oh, it's always her division. Oh, Britt always has to be in the center of shit. And I'm like, yes, she does. I never understood, and I still don't understand these bozos complaining that Britt Baker, the, unrequited, is that the right word? The undisputed star of the women's division is not is not put in more favorable positions. So Tony sees this and he's like, look, people are really mad, Britt. They say you win all the time. They see you all the time. Maybe we'll dial you back a little bit. I understand why you do that, because Britt has been on hasn't been on a huge tear recently. She won a squash match last week. She wins, whatever happened with Taya tonight. So I understand, like, previously, she was in losing efforts and so on and so forth, and I get that. But at some point, this woman has to come back and reclaim her spot as being the top woman of the division. Because if we are if we feel like we have to lean into Taya Valkyrie to save us, it is not going to work. If we feel we're going to lean into Sky Blue, no disrespect, because she's been improving, but she's still not there yet. Again, this is not going to work. I understand. Jamie Hayter's out. You've got Tony, who's the world champion, Tony Storm. You can't use her every week doing all sorts of shit. This is all stuff I understand, but you have resources at your disposal. You have women who are highly competent professional wrestlers who can get in there and work well, or be the star that you need for that division. So enough with the anti-Brit talk. When I see stuff like this, I'm like, we absolutely need Brit back on top. We need Brit every week. We need Brit cutting promos. We need Brit challenging for titles. Because Brit is the star. She's probably the fifth best worker they have there at the top. Probably. But she's still very competent. She's not a bad pro wrestler by any stretch of the imagination. I'll tell you what, when she runs the ropes, she runs the ropes. Not like what I saw with Taya Valkyrie tonight. Now you have to stop pretending that Brit being on top is a bad thing. Brit being on top is a good thing. A very good thing. Because it's not helping the division right now. Whatever the hell they're doing right now, it's not helping. And I know, and I see everyone going, remember Riho? Why isn't Riho? There's stuff we're not privy to. I couldn't tell you either. I know they have Yuka Sakazaki at their fingertips. I know they're, Hikaru Shida and Nyla Rose, for some bizarre reason, is being relegated to Rampage this week. Why wasn't that on Dynamite tonight? That should have been on Dynamite. Two much stronger workers than Taya Valkyrie. It will inevitably end up giving us a better match. What are we doing? End of rant. Let's move on. Main event. Lucha Brothers defeated the Blackpool Combat Club and the Best Friends in a triangle match, and I thought this was fine, entertaining, some fun stuff, but a little disjointed. I don't know. I had trouble getting into it, but I thought the final stretch of this match really made everything come together. Everyone, was landing their shit, and we had some great double teams, stereo pile drivers by the Best Friends. Penta lands the arm snap and the Made in Japan as well. And BCC, they destroy the Best Friends. And that brings out Orange Cassidy, who comes down to fight with Mox. I'm like, all right, let's just go. Trent seems to get the job done on Claudio, but Claudio is not the legal man. Penta's the legal man. He lands the Fear Factor on Trent and gets the win for the Lucha Bros. And then everyone just brawls. For all the time they have left, they're just fighting with each other. They're tossing each other over barricades. It's just a big schmoz, and I'm into it. You guys, gals, non-binary pals, y'all know. You know how much I enjoy these types of finishes. I love me a WCW style finish like this. I think it's great. I love it. I still want someone to scream tape machines are rolling. I'll get that wish someday. Maybe one time. Once the stroke hits, this will be my request. I am a wrestling fan that he had stroke and also changed my accent. Could you please say tape machines are rolling after a brawl on ending of Dynamite? It's fine. Look, good main event. Nothing that we're going to remember tomorrow. Or it was fine. It was all right. It's a good thing. But this is the one thing that we haven't touched on, because I wanted to wrap it all up with this, is Orange Cassidy and Jon Moxley. And I think that is a very, very interesting feud, and something that I feel is fresh and exciting and just piques my attention and my curiosity. There is no denying that Orange Cassidy this year has been having a banner year. And this, it actually started last winter, when he won the back then All Atlantic title. But he's been working week after week, singles, defending his title, or in tag teams. And he has this stellar record at this point. He is phenomenal. He is having he's having a legend run right now. This is something that you're like, as a title holder, the work he's putting in week after week, he is the workhorse. And if the trajectory leading to this is Jon Moxley, big match John, wrestles around the world, always, pulls out, always comes out in the main events or, the big matches. This is a pairing, trust me, that you hadn't thought of, that you were not, clamoring for, but now that you have it, now that it's manifesting in front of us, you're like, yeah, this should be a lot of fun. Because the one thing that you cannot say about Orange Cassidy anymore is that he's a bad wrestler, he's a slouch, he's a comedy guy. You can't say that anymore. If you're still saying it, then you're not watching the product. I mean, it's just, that's where I draw the line. If you think Orange Cassidy is just a comedy act, you're not watching AEW. It's just clear as day. This is a guy who came in an irony wrestler, like some people like to call him a meme wrestler, and he did, the sillies and the shenanigans, and he still does them. But you'll notice in an Orange Cassidy match, the way they're structured, he'll do the crowd pleasing shenanigans at first, but immediately right off the bat, the hand stuff and doing, moves with hands in his pockets and shit like that. He'll get all of that and then he'll get all of that out of the way from the start, right from the get-go. And then the rest of the match is wrestling. Then the work rate kicks in and then we go. And quite frankly, he is, he's one of the top acts in the company. He sells merch, kids dress like him, he gets huge reactions. Like what are we doing? Keeping this guy isolated in the mid card when he should be mixing it up with some of the top acts, right? But I mean, his trajectory has served this to go from mid-card guy, and is winning matches, dominant champion on top of that, having good to great matches on a regular basis, and you can even sprinkle in an excellent one once in a while. So why isn't he fighting? Why isn't he stepping into the ring with some of the top guys in the company, some of the top wrestlers in the world, like Jon Moxley? And this pairing is so intriguing. The thing is that if Moxley wants to work a Moxley style match, and Cassidy will follow. And if Cassidy wants to work his style of match, Mox will follow. Like, these are two guys who just understand wrestling. They love it. Good minds to putting matches together and spots and whatnot. Like, I am excited at the prospect of this. A prospect that hadn't even crossed my mind. So I guess we're not getting the Blackpool Combat Club face turn just yet. Got to stay nice and heelish for this Orange Cassidy stuff. And I'm excited to see what this is going to drag out of Orange Cassidy. I'm excited to see how this will, I think inevitably, when you fight a guy like Jon Moxley, inevitably this will transform a character. I'm not saying that he's going to abandon the gimmick. I think that, not even remotely. I don't even think it's a good move for his career, for the business. Like, you don't dump that, but there are nuances you can bring. There's something different that can come out. Stuff that we haven't seen from Orange Cassidy in the past, but because you're fighting, the purest essence of violent professional wrestling, Jon Moxley, there's something that's going to happen here. I'm excited for it. And I loved how they laid this out. And I don't know how long Tony Khan had this in mind, but all starting off at Death Before Dishonor this Friday, Jon Moxley coming in for a receipt, and Orange Cassidy's like, nah, son, this isn't a receipt. Now we're something else is happening here. I'm like, all right, let's go. International champion Jon Moxley, sure, why not? He's well traveled. He's got his his visa to work in Japan, right? Or his citizenship visa, whatever the hell he called it. He's got his green card, the equivalent in Japan. Well, he's ready to go. He can go international. No, I think I thought it was brilliantly brought together, and I really like it. But overall, I thought this show was, a well-structured, well-put-together pro wrestling show that had some very good highlights, but a lot of stuff that's just like, and a lot of resets, a lot of setting the stage for the big shows that are coming up in August and September. There's a lot of stuff being, last week felt like we were closing the book on a couple of stories. So this week we're going into other stuff. We're going into other angles. Despite what happened here, don't forget, Britt Baker is now on a winning streak. She's 2-0 right now. She won last week, won this week. What does that mean? What are we doing with Britt? Clearly we're heating her up for a reason. For what now? These are all things that are happening. You're like, oh, okay. So we're setting things, this is a bit of a placeholder show to set things in motion. One fantastic match, Darby Allin and Swerve Strickland. You have to see this match if you haven't. But otherwise, one that I'll be like, okay, well, that fine addition. Now let's get shaken. Let's get shaken next week. Let's get back to cooking. Then we have Collision coming up this weekend with the big tag team title match, which of course I will be reviewing this upcoming Sunday right here on this channel. So it's a good time to subscribe to the YouTube channel or follow me on your favorite podcast app. I will be back for that. And of course, my daily G1 coverage continues. So there's a lot of opportunities to get some Warren Hayes content into your brains. So take advantage of it. Jump right in. I'd love to have you stick around. And whichever way you decide to join me, I'll see you next time.